If you've ever taken a landscape or a seascape shot where you wish you'd taken it with a big stopper to get some really nice movement in the sky and the clouds, there is a simple way of replicating the effect in Photoshop, and it really depends on how complex the horizon is as to how well it works. There are obviously different ways that you can select the ground, some are better than others. But today I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way of blurring the clouds in a landscape shot that has a fairly easy horizon to work with. So I'm going to use the quick selection tool. So that sits with the magic wand or the object selection tool. I'm just going to pull that over the sky and hopefully it will do a reasonably good job of selecting just the sky for me. So I'm just going to take a look at that and make sure it's okay. And looking at that, I think it has done a pretty good job. We've lost a bit there, so what I'm going to do is just make the brush slightly smaller by using the left square bracket key, hold down the Alt key, so that would be Option on a Mac, and I'm just going to run over this edge of land here. And that has fixed that. So I'm just going to go along the horizon and just make sure that everything is as it should be. So there's just a few areas where they need a bit of work. So let's bring that down. I'm not going to worry about these aerials. That's not a huge problem because we can mask those back in. So that is a pretty good selection of the sky. So I'm just going to zoom out by holding down Control and 0. Again, that would be Command and 0 on a Mac. And I'm just going to go up to Select and select a mask. And here I can just modify my selection slightly. So I'm going to smooth it by 10, add a feather radius of 3, and I'm going to leave the edge where it is because it is pretty much where it needed to be. So once that's done, I can hit OK, and there is my selection there. And now I'm just going to press Control and J to duplicate that to a new layer. So there is my sky layer. And I'm just going to zoom in and make sure that I haven't picked up too much of any dark parts of the hills. So I'm just going to hit E on the keyboard to bring up the eraser. I'm just going to remove the aerial there and just take this edge off very, very lightly, because when we add the blur, this will get picked up and will become part of it, and it just doesn't really work very well. So it's best to remove any problems like this at this stage. So I'm going to leave that aerial there for now because I will deal with that afterwards. And let's just go along here. I'm going a lot quicker than I would normally. I would take a lot more care and a little bit longer. It doesn't take that long, but it takes long enough that you would get bored watching me doing it absolutely perfect. Okay, so let's zoom out and bring the background layer back in. So now what I'm going to do is go to Filter, Blur, and I'm going to use motion blur so we get a sideways motion. You could use radial blur and the zoom option so you get the clouds rushing towards you, but for a scene like this where there's so much cloud, it doesn't tend to work that well. It's much more effective if you use the sideways motion. So there are those two options available to you if you would like to use them. So here you want to have the angle set to 0 because that's going to have it going from side to side. And then you can just use the distance slider to find the perfect amount. So you can go for a bit less, or you can take it up really high and get that really long exposure look. So that's the one I'm going to go for. So I'm just going to hit OK. And what typically happens here is if you look along the horizon, you sometimes get a bit of bleed onto the ground. So what we're going to do here is add a mask by clicking on the layer mask icon, and I'm going to go to the edge of the image and with black in the foreground because that's going to hide that layer, and then with the brush tool I'm just going to paint over the edge. So again, normally I would take much longer to do this really carefully, but I'm just doing it really quickly for the sake of time. And you'll see I'm just taking away that haziness where it's bled over onto the ground. So let's just give that a touch there. So that brings that aerial back in. You've got to be really careful. If you make a mistake, you can always press the shortcut Control and Z or Command and Z on a Mac to go back a step, or if it's a more serious problem with the masking, you can just press X on the keyboard to bring white into the foreground, and then you can just erase over that problem. To bring black and white into the palette colors, you just hit D on the keyboard. So I'm going to get a really small brush here just to bring this Arial back in, and there we go. So if I just come out there, you'll see that in just a few minutes we've transformed a standard handheld landscape shot into one that looks like it was taken on a tripod with a big stopper.